Stop waiting for people to see your worth. Stop begging for love that you should be giving to yourself. The truth is simple. Until you learn to love yourself more than anyone else, you will always be at the mercy of someone else's approval. This audiobook is your call to take back control, to build emotional independence, self-respect, and quiet power that no one can touch. You don't need their validation. You need your own discipline, your own confidence, your own loyalty to yourself. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop chasing. Start choosing. You've been taught to chase. Chase love, chase approval, chase belonging. You've been conditioned to believe that the more you give, the more you'll be valued. But that's a lie. The truth is simple. When you chase, you lose power. When you chase, you forget your worth. When you chase, you hand control of your peace to people who haven't earned it. You have to stop chasing. You have to start choosing. Because every time you run after someone's approval, you're sending one silent message to yourself. I'm not enough on my own. And that message destroys your confidence, your self-respect, and your focus. You don't need more validation. You need more self-loyalty. That's the key. Most people don't even realize they're chasing. They call it caring, trying, or being supportive. But underneath that, there's fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being liked. Fear of not being chosen. So they overextend, they overexplain, they overgive. You've done it too. You text first every time, you bend your boundaries just to keep peace, you give effort to people who barely notice your energy. You trade your self-respect for a temporary sense of belonging. That's not love, that's survival. And you're not meant to live in survival mode. When you chase, you place your value outside of yourself. You start believing that love is something to earn instead of something to embody. That mindset will drain you for the rest of your life, unless you stop it today. You have a choice. You can keep chasing, or you can start choosing. Choosing means shifting your standard. It means understanding that your attention is currency. Every text, every conversation, every piece of effort you give, it's an investment. Ask yourself, is this person, this situation, this habit giving me a return on that investment? If the answer is no, stop chasing. Start choosing where your energy goes. Choose yourself first. That's not arrogance, that's alignment. Because when you finally choose yourself, you stop needing to prove your worth. You stop negotiating with people who never plan to meet you halfway. You stop running after the unavailable, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. You stand still, and you build. I don't chase, I choose. I don't beg, I build. Repeat that until it becomes your new default. Let's talk about how this plays out in real life. At work, you chase validation when you say yes to everything just to look valuable. You stay late, you overwork, you burn out, hoping someone notices your sacrifice. But here's the truth. Most people don't reward effort, they reward boundaries. The worker who values their own time gets respected. The one who always says yes gets taken for granted. Stop chasing recognition. Start choosing self-respect. In relationships, it's the same pattern. You give too much, you explain too much, you wait for someone to finally see your value. But people see what you show them, and if you show them you'll chase, they'll keep running. When you choose yourself, you change the dynamic completely. You stop asking, "Do they like me?" and start asking, do I even like how I feel when I'm around them? That shift changes everything. Online, it's even worse. You scroll, you compare, you post for validation, you wait for likes to tell you that you matter. You're feeding the illusion that attention equals worth. It doesn't. You don't need their attention. You need your own focus. Because when you pour energy into building yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, that's when real confidence grows. Not the loud, performative kind, the quiet, unshakable kind. That's the key. The habit of chasing approval kills momentum. It keeps you reactive, emotional, and scattered. You lose focus on your purpose because you're too busy managing perceptions. And the world rewards clarity, not chaos. When you stop chasing, you gain clarity. You start choosing where to put your time, your focus, and your emotional energy. That's when your life starts compounding. So here's what you do next. Audit your energy. Write down who drains you and who builds you. Then start choosing boundaries around the drainers. Stop explaining yourself. You don't need to justify your standards or your silence. Rebuild your loyalty. Wake up every morning and ask, what can I do today that makes me respect myself more? That's how you choose. That's how you take back power. Let's be clear. Choosing doesn't mean isolation. It means alignment. It means only giving energy to what grows you, not what drains you. It means loving without losing yourself. When you stop chasing people, something amazing happens. The right ones stay. Because respect attracts respect. Peace attracts peace. Confidence attracts clarity. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You just need to embody it. And the moment you embody it, the world adjusts. That's the key. That's the turning point. From this moment on, you walk differently. You talk differently. You move with quiet certainty. No more chasing attention, no more begging for recognition. No more lowering your standards just to feel seen. You are the validation. You are the choice. You are the standard. Say it with me. I don't chase, I choose. I don't beg, I build. Again, I don't chase, I choose. I don't beg, I build. Let that sink in until it becomes your new default. You've just taken the first step in reclaiming your emotional power. You've stopped the chase. You've started to choose. And this right here, is where self-respect begins. You mastered your first shift, choosing yourself over approval. Now, let's talk about the invisible trap that keeps most people weak, reactive, and easily controlled.
Chapter 2. Validation is a trap. Validation feels good. Let's be honest, when someone praises you, when they like your post, when they tell you they're proud of you, it hits. It releases that small burst of pleasure in your brain. But that same burst becomes a leash. Because the moment you need that feeling again, you're no longer free. You're addicted. You start performing for approval instead of building for purpose. You start existing for applause instead of self-respect. That's the trap. Every compliment, every like, every nod of approval, it's temporary. It fades. And when it fades, you go searching for more. That's how the cycle starts. You feel good when they notice you. You feel empty when they don't. You build your confidence on sand, soft, unstable, and dependent on someone else's mood. That's not strength, that's slavery disguised as success. You don't need their permission to feel worthy. You don't need their approval to be powerful. You don't need their validation to know your direction. That's the key. Let's look closer at how this trap works. At first, it seems harmless. You do something great, someone claps for you. You feel proud. You feel seen. But slowly, that becomes your fuel. You start chasing moments instead of mastery. You start doing things not because they matter, but because they'll get noticed. And the second nobody claps, you feel invisible. Think about it. You post something online, it gets a few likes, and your brain celebrates. But when it doesn't, you question yourself. You delete. You doubt. You delay your next move. That's how subtle this trap is. It convinces you that your worth is up for public vote. But here's the truth. The people who are truly dangerous, the ones who rise, the ones who last, they build in silence. They don't need to be seen because they're too busy becoming solid. I am not addicted to being seen. I am committed to being solid. Say it again. I am not addicted to being seen. I am committed to being solid. That's not just a mantra, it's an armor. You must understand this. Validation is emotional sugar. It gives you a quick high, but it leaves you weaker every time you depend on it. The more you need it, the less stable you become. Look around. Most people are addicts. They live for likes, attention, compliments, or constant reassurance. They can't move without being noticed. And that's why they never find peace. Peace comes when you stop needing to be seen. Peace comes when you know who you are, even when no one claps for you. Peace comes when silence feels just as satisfying as applause. That's self-respect. If you want to be free, you have to break the addiction. Here's how. First, catch yourself in the act. Notice how often you check for feedback, messages, comments, reactions, approval. Every time you do, stop and breathe. Ask yourself, what am I really looking for right now? Because it's rarely feedback, it's reassurance. And reassurance is just validation in disguise. Second, build moments that are yours alone. Do things that no one sees. Workouts, journaling, learning, discipline. Do them privately, with no announcement, no audience. That's how you prove to yourself that you can operate without external fuel. That's how you rebuild your inner foundation. Third, sit with silence. Silence is uncomfortable at first because you've been trained to perform. But silence is where your strength grows. It's where your identity becomes rooted. It's where you start hearing your own voice again. The stronger that voice becomes, the less you need the noise outside. Let's talk about what happens when you finally break free from validation. When you stop seeking approval, you become unpredictable, and that makes you powerful. Because nobody can manipulate someone who doesn't crave attention. Nobody can control someone who's content being unseen. The people who run this world, leaders, creators, warriors, thinkers, they understand this law. They build when no one's watching. They prepare when no one's applauding. They succeed when others are still waiting for motivation. That's the difference between the average and the unstoppable. The average waits to be seen. The unstoppable acts in silence. I am not addicted to being seen. I am committed to being solid. Repeat it until it sinks into your subconscious. Because once you internalize that truth, you stop moving like everyone else. You stop explaining your silence. You stop proving your worth. You stop begging for recognition. Instead, you focus on substance, skill, discipline, consistency. You become the kind of person who doesn't talk about the grind. You just live it. You become solid. And when you become solid, you don't chase. You attract. You don't beg. You build. You don't wait. You act. That's the freedom that comes from killing your need for validation. Here's what you must remember. Validation is not the problem. Dependence is. You can appreciate praise, but never rely on it. You can value recognition, but never require it. The key is control. When you control your reaction to validation, you control your emotional state. When you control your emotional state, you control your life. So from this day forward, remind yourself daily, you are not here to be seen. You are here to be solid. You are here to build something that lasts beyond applause. Let silence become your validation. Let discipline become your reward. Let self-respect become your peace. Say it one more time. I am not addicted to being seen. I am committed to being solid. Because that's how you win. That's how you free yourself from emotional slavery. That's how you rise above the noise and take back your focus. You've broken the need to chase attention. You've escaped the trap of validation. Now it's time to master the skill that separates the emotionally fragile from the mentally unshakable.
Chapter 3. Control the first thought, or it controls you. Everything starts with one thought. Not 10, not 1,000, just one. The first thought after a trigger decides your next emotion, your next action, your next hour, sometimes your whole day. That's how powerful it is. That's how sneaky it is. Most people don't lose to life. They lose to that first thought. The anxious mind attacks fast. It fires the first thought before you even realize it's happening. What if something goes wrong? What if I embarrass myself? What if I can't handle it? And if you don't catch that first spark, it becomes a fire. That's how anxiety spreads, not from what happens, but from what happens in your head the first second after it happens. That first reaction is the seed of panic. And if you don't plant something stronger, it grows into fear, doubt, and overthinking. But here's the truth. You can train that moment. You can train the space between trigger and thought. That's where emotional control is born. That's where toughness lives. You have a choice. You always have a choice. You can let that first thought control you, or you can control it. Let's get clear. The first thought isn't always your fault, but the second one is your responsibility. You can't stop your mind from firing automatic reactions. That's biology. But you can stop yourself from believing them. That's mastery. The mind loves momentum. Once it starts down a path, worry, anger, fear, it wants to keep running. And that's why you have to stop it early, because the earlier you intervene, the easier it is to redirect. Think of it like a car rolling downhill. If you stop it at the top, one hand can hold it still. Wait too long, and you'll need an army to stop it. That's how the first thought works. Catch it at the top, or it will crush you at the bottom. Here's how you take control. Step 1. Notice the first spark. When you feel the shift, that tiny drop in your stomach, that flash of tension, pause. Don't run, don't react. Just say to yourself, there it is. That's the first thought. Awareness is your weapon. Once you see it, it can't control you. Step 2. Label it. Put words on it immediately. This is a fear thought. This is an old pattern. This is my brain repeating last week's worry. Labeling strips the thought of its mystery, and when the thought loses mystery, it loses power. Step 3. Redirect it. Replace it with something deliberate. If the first thought says, I can't handle this, you answer, yes, I can. I've handled worse. If it says, this is going to be bad, you answer, we'll see. Let's find out. That's control. Not ignoring, not denying, redirecting. That's how you rewire the brain, not by forcing positivity, but by choosing authority. You're the one who decides what happens after the first thought appears. That's the key.
Most people live their whole lives reacting to thoughts they didn't choose. They wake up and instantly surrender their peace to whatever the mind decides to feed them. Today feels off. I don't want to face work. I'm tired. I'm anxious. And before they even stand up, the day is already lost. That's the cost of not controlling the first thought. Your day doesn't start when the alarm rings. It starts with the first thought you obey. So take that moment back. When you wake up, when you face something hard, when your mind starts running, command it. Say out loud, "No, we're not doing that today." You don't need your mind's permission to feel calm. You decide. That's power. Understand this. The brain's first thought is rarely the truth. It's the fastest thought, not the smartest one. It's just a reflex. It's survival mood, not logic, not wisdom, just noise. But the mind learns through repetition. If you challenge that first thought enough times, it starts generating better ones. It starts working for you instead of against you. That's the discipline, not perfection, repetition. Every time you replace a negative first thought with a calm one, you strengthen a new neural pathway. You are literally rewiring your mind's default setting. That's science. That's mastery. You don't need to fight your thoughts. You just need to choose your response faster than fear can take over. That's the goal. And here's what you'll notice. At first, it feels impossible. You'll catch the first thought too late. You'll realize you've already spiraled. That's okay. That's part of the training. You're not failing, you're practicing awareness. Every time you recognize the pattern a second earlier, you win. Every time you catch yourself mid-spiral, you win. Because awareness always comes before control. You're teaching your mind to pause before panic. And soon, that pause becomes automatic. That's the shift. That's when you go from being controlled to being in command. You have a choice, always. You can be dragged by the thought, or you can walk beside it and decide what happens next. Let's make it real. You're driving, and someone cuts you off. The first thought, "Idiot, how dare they?" That thought spikes adrenaline, anger, tension. You're in the loop. Now try this. Catch it. Label it. Redirect it. There's the first thought, anger. Then replace it. Maybe they're rushing to the hospital. Not my story to tell. You just stopped stress from hijacking your body. That's mastery. Or maybe your boss sends a short email. "We need to talk." The first thought, "I'm in trouble." Pause. Label it. Fear thought. Redirect. Let's see what it's actually about. You just saved yourself 2 hours of mental suffering. That's how it works. This is not theory. This is training your brain in real time. Here's the real challenge. You must practice calm when you don't need it, so it's ready when you do. Control isn't built in chaos, it's built in quiet. When you're alone, pay attention to what your mind says first. When nothing's wrong, train it. When life is still, rehearse. So when life shakes, you're already ready. That's what mental toughness is. It's not about never feeling anxious. It's about never letting anxiety run the first move. It's not about being perfect. It's about being prepared. Remember this mantra. I control the first thought. I decide the direction. Say it again and again until it becomes reflex, because your reflex decides your reality. You don't need to stop every thought. You just need to choose which one wins. You don't need to predict the future. You just need to direct your focus. And it starts in that first second, that invisible moment where the anxious mind tries to take the lead. Catch it, name it, redirect it. That's your formula. That's how you build emotional control that lasts a lifetime. When you learn to control that first thought, you start controlling your entire day. When you control your day, you start controlling your emotions. When you control your emotions, you start controlling your life. It's all connected. It all starts with awareness. So next time your mind starts the first blow, Don't swing back. Step back. Don't react. Respond. Don't panic. Choose. Because when you control the first thought, you control everything that follows. You've learned how to stop reacting to your thoughts. You've learned how to intercept the spark before it becomes fire. Now we go deeper, because overthinking is what keeps the fire alive long after it should have burned out. You've mastered the first response. Now let's master the overreaction. Chapter 4. Overthinking is mental exhaustion, not intelligence. Let's make one thing clear. Overthinking isn't a sign of intelligence. It's a symptom of fear. It's not depth. It's delay. It's not analysis. It's avoidance. Overthinking doesn't make you smarter. It makes you slower. It drains your energy, kills your momentum, and replaces action with endless what-ifs. You tell yourself you're just being careful. You call it preparation. You disguise it as being thorough. But deep down you know the truth. You're tired. You're scared of being wrong. You're scared of failing, so you think yourself into paralysis. That's not intelligence. That's exhaustion. Mental exhaustion disguised as productivity. Here's what's really happening. Every time you overthink, your brain burns energy solving the same imaginary problems again and again. You're running the same loop. What if this happens? What if that goes wrong? What if I make a mistake? And your brain, trying to protect you, plays the whole movie in your head. You experience the stress, the fear, the embarrassment, all of it, without anything even happening. That's mental torture. And when you do that enough, your mind gets tired. Your body follows. You lose focus. You lose drive. You lose yourself in endless scenarios that never existed. That's the cost of overthinking. You live more in imagination than in reality.
Chapter 1. Stop chasing. Start choosing. You've been taught to chase. Chase love, chase approval, chase belonging. You've been conditioned to believe that the more you give, the more you'll be valued. But that's a lie. The truth is simple. When you chase, you lose power. When you chase, you forget your worth. When you chase, you hand control of your peace to people who haven't earned it. You have to stop chasing. You have to start choosing. Because every time you run after someone's approval, you're sending one silent message to yourself. I'm not enough on my own. And that message destroys your confidence, your self-respect, and your focus. You don't need more validation. You need more self-loyalty. That's the key. Most people don't even realize they're chasing. They call it caring, trying, or being supportive. But underneath that, there's fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being liked. Fear of not being chosen. So they overextend, they overexplain, they overgive. You've done it too. You text first every time, you bend your boundaries just to keep peace, you give effort to people who barely notice your energy. You trade your self-respect for a temporary sense of belonging. That's not love, that's survival. And you're not meant to live in survival mode. When you chase, you place your value outside of yourself. You start believing that love is something to earn instead of something to embody. That mindset will drain you for the rest of your life, unless you stop it today. You have a choice. You can keep chasing, or you can start choosing. Choosing means shifting your standard. It means understanding that your attention is currency. Every text, every conversation, every piece of effort you give, it's an investment. Ask yourself, is this person, this situation, this habit giving me a return on that investment? If the answer is no, stop chasing. Start choosing where your energy goes. Choose yourself first. That's not arrogance. That's alignment. Because when you finally choose yourself, you stop needing to prove your worth. You stop negotiating with people who never planned to meet you halfway. You stop running after the unavailable, emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. You stand still, and you build. I don't chase, I choose. I don't beg, I build. Repeat that until it becomes your new default. Let's talk about how this plays out in real life. At work, you chase validation when you say yes to everything just to look valuable. You stay late, you overwork, you burn out, hoping someone notices your sacrifice. But here's the truth. Most people don't reward effort, they reward boundaries. The worker who values their own time gets respected. The one who always says yes gets taken for granted. Stop chasing recognition. Start choosing self-respect. In relationships, it's the same pattern. You give too much, you explain too much, you wait for someone to finally see your value. But people see what you show them, and if you show them you'll chase, they'll keep running. When you choose yourself, you change the dynamic completely. You stop asking, "Do they like me?" and start asking, "Do I even like how I feel when I'm around them?" That shift changes everything. Online, it's even worse. You scroll, you compare, you post for validation, you wait for likes to tell you that you matter. You're feeding the illusion that attention equals worth. It doesn't. You don't need their attention. You need your own focus. Because when you pour energy into building yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, that's when real confidence grows. Not the loud, performative kind, the quiet, unshakable kind. That's the key. The habit of chasing approval kills momentum. It keeps you reactive, emotional, and scattered. You lose focus on your purpose because you're too busy managing perceptions. And the world rewards clarity, not chaos. When you stop chasing, you gain clarity. You start choosing where to put your time, your focus, and your emotional energy. That's when your life starts compounding. So here's what you do next. Audit your energy. Write down who drains you and who builds you. Then start choosing boundaries around the drainers. Stop explaining yourself. You don't need to justify your standards or your silence. Rebuild your loyalty. Wake up every morning and ask, what can I do today that makes me respect myself more? That's how you choose. That's how you take back power. Let's be clear. Choosing doesn't mean isolation. It means alignment. It means only giving energy to what grows you, not what drains you. It means loving without losing yourself. When you stop chasing people, something amazing happens. The right ones stay. Because respect attracts respect. Peace attracts peace. Confidence attracts clarity. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You just need to embody it. And the moment you embody it, the world adjusts. That's the key. That's the turning point. From this moment on, you walk differently. You talk differently. You move with quiet certainty. No more chasing attention, no more begging for recognition. No more lowering your standards just to feel seen. You are the validation. You are the choice. You are the standard. Say it with me. I don't chase, I choose. I don't beg, I build. Again, I don't chase, I choose. I don't beg, I build. Let that sink in until it becomes your new default. You've just taken the first step in reclaiming your emotional power. You've stopped the chase. You've started to choose. And this right here, is where self-respect begins. You mastered your first shift, choosing yourself over approval. Now, let's talk about the invisible trap that keeps most people weak, reactive, and easily controlled.
Chapter 5. Silence is your new superpower. You gain power by not reacting. You gain control by not explaining. You gain peace by not proving. That's the secret the world doesn't want you to know. Silence is your new superpower. Most people waste their energy trying to be understood. They argue to win approval. They explain themselves to feel seen. They talk to convince others they're worthy. But when you learn the art of silence, everything shifts. You stop giving away your power through words. You stop fighting battles that don't deserve your voice. You stop needing to be right, and you start becoming solid. Because silence doesn't mean weakness, it means control. And when you master silence, you master control. That's the key. The truth is, most people talk too much because they're insecure. They fill space because they fear emptiness. They rush to explain themselves because they fear misunderstanding. But the powerful ones, the grounded ones, they stay quiet. They understand that silence is a filter. It reveals who's really listening and who's just waiting to respond. It exposes the insecure, the manipulative, the loud. When you stop reacting, people reveal themselves. When you stop explaining, they start guessing. And when you stop proving, they start respecting. Because silence demands attention. Noise is cheap. Silence is expensive. Let's look at a psychological truth. In any conflict, the one who reacts first loses control. The one who stays quiet controls the pace, the energy, and the tone. Imagine a heated argument. Someone insults you, mocks you, tries to trigger you. Most people jump in, defending, arguing, proving. But not you, not anymore. You stand still. You breathe. You observe. You don't match their chaos. You let your calmness unnerve them. Because nothing is louder than composure. When you respond with silence, the other person starts to feel their own noise. They start to question themselves. They start to lose power. That's how you win without speaking. That's how you maintain dominance, through discipline. Think about it. Silence gives you time. It gives you space to think. It allows emotion to pass before you act. Most people destroy relationships, opportunities, and peace because they react too fast. They say things they don't mean. They over-explain to people who've already made up their minds. They defend their worth to people who'll never understand it. Stop doing that. Stop wasting your words on the wrong ears. Stop trading your peace for attention. When you choose silence, you choose power. You choose to let your actions speak louder than explanations ever could. There's a deep confidence that lives in quiet people. They don't need to announce their worth. They embody it. They don't need to argue their value. They live it. Because when you truly know who you are, you stop trying to convince others. You realize that validation isn't oxygen. You realize that reaction isn't strength. You realize that silence is strategy. The people who talk the most are often the least secure.
They hide their uncertainty behind words. But those who are grounded, those who have done the inner work, they don't need to be loud. Their stillness says everything. Let's be clear. Silence doesn't mean passivity. It's not about being silent out of fear. It's about being silent from strength. It's not avoiding confrontation. It's choosing which battles deserve your energy. You don't owe everyone an answer. You don't owe everyone an explanation. You don't owe everyone your reaction. Sometimes the most powerful statement is no statement. Sometimes the most strategic move is stillness. That's not weakness. That's precision. Here's how to practice it in real life. First, in conflict, pause before responding. Count to 10. Ask yourself, will this reaction serve my peace or my ego? If it's ego, stay silent. If it's peace, respond with intention. Second, stop oversharing your plans. Silence protects your process. Let your results speak. Let people wonder how you did it. That mystery becomes power. Third, use silence to observe. Watch how people behave when you don't feed them attention. You'll see who's really genuine and who's just addicted to control. Because manipulators hate silence. It exposes their tactics. You'll notice something as you grow quieter. Your focus sharpens. Your presence deepens. Your energy stabilizes. You'll stop reacting to everything that moves. You'll stop explaining yourself to people who don't deserve your story. You'll stop letting every opinion touch your spirit. Silence becomes armor. It becomes your boundary. It becomes your confidence. When you master silence, you master control. Say it again. When you master silence, you master control. You'll find that in silence, your mind speaks clearer. Your instincts get louder. Your peace becomes non-negotiable. Because silence isn't the absence of sound. It's the presence of strength. It's where you find clarity. It's where you find power. It's where you meet yourself. And when you meet yourself in silence, no one can shake you again. That's how you evolve. That's how you protect your power. That's how you love yourself, by refusing to waste your energy proving your worth. When you master silence, you master control. When you master control, you master peace. And when you master peace, no one owns you again. You've learned the power of restraint. Now it's time to learn the art of boundaries.
Chapter 6. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. Let's make one thing clear. Detachment is not coldness. It's not apathy. It's not shutting off your heart. Detachment means you love without losing yourself. You give without needing to be approved. You care deeply, but you stay free. That's the key. Because somewhere along the way, you were taught that love means self-abandonment, that caring means overextending, that commitment means attachment. And that's why you keep getting hurt, not because you care too much, but because you attach too tightly. Detachment is the cure. Most people confuse detachment with distance. They think it means you don't feel. But true detachment isn't emotional avoidance, it's emotional balance. It means you can love fully without depending on that love to define you. When you're detached, you can be close to someone and still keep your center. You can listen to others without absorbing their chaos. You can care without carrying everything on your back. Because the goal isn't to stop feeling. The goal is to stop clinging. You care deeply, but you stay free. Here's what detachment looks like in real life. You're in a relationship. They pull away a little. They're distant. They're cold. The old you would panic. You'd overthink. You'd overtext. You'd chase clarity because you feared rejection. But the detached you stay calm. You give space. You remember, their behavior doesn't define my value. That's power. That's peace. Because emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you stop begging. It means you stop handing over your self-worth every time someone disappoints you. It means you stop needing constant reassurance to feel secure. You love, but you don't lose yourself. You give, but you don't deplete yourself. You stay open, but you stay grounded. That's emotional maturity. Let's look at another example: friendships and social approval. Maybe you're the one always reaching out, always showing up, always trying to keep everyone happy. And deep down, you resent it. Because it's one-sided. Because it feels like your worth depends on being needed. Detachment breaks that cycle. You stop needing to be liked. You stop trying to prove you're good enough to keep people around. You let people go if they choose to leave, not because you're cold, but because you respect peace more than chaos. You say to yourself, I care, but I'm not chasing. I give, but I'm not begging. I show up, but I won't shrink. That's what it means to care deeply, but stay free. Detachment isn't about ignoring love. It's about strengthening your self-love so no other love can destroy you. It's knowing that someone's approval isn't oxygen. It's knowing that distance doesn't always mean disconnection. It's knowing that your peace matters more than their opinion. When you master detachment, you stop being emotionally dependent. You stop reacting to other people's moods. You stop confusing attention with affection. You stop thinking silence means rejection. You start to stand on your own emotional foundation. Here's the truth. Detachment is a skill, and like any skill, it takes repetition. You'll catch yourself slipping back into overthinking. You'll catch yourself trying to fix things you didn't break. You'll catch yourself wanting to over-explain to feel safe. That's normal. But every time you choose calm instead of control, you're training detachment. Every time you walk away with peace instead of staying to prove, you're building strength. Every time you choose your self-respect over someone's attention, you're growing. That's emotional evolution. Let's simplify it even more. Detachment doesn't say, I don't care. It says, I care, but I won't collapse. Detachment doesn't say, I don't need anyone. It says, I choose to stand on my own even when I have someone. Detachment doesn't say, I'm cold. It says, I'm calm. That's the difference between reaction and response, between weakness and wisdom. Because when you're attached, your peace depends on how others treat you. When you're detached, your peace depends on how you treat yourself. That's the real shift. Here's how to start practicing it. Step 1. Observe your attachment triggers. Notice when you feel the urge to control, fix, or overgive. That's the moment you pause. That's the moment you breathe. Step 2. Ground yourself before reacting. Remind yourself, I can care without clinging. I can love without losing myself. Repeat it until it becomes your default. Step 3. Redefine love. Love is not anxiety. Love is not constant reassurance. Love is peace, respect, and balance. If it drains you, it's not love. It's attachment disguised as connection. The detached mind is clear. The attached mind is chaotic. The detached person chooses peace. The attached person chases validation. And here's the truth. Detachment is freedom. Freedom from fear. freedom from control, freedom from emotional dependence. When you stop trying to hold everything together, you finally realize you were never meant to. You were meant to flow, not force. You were meant to connect, not cling. Care deeply, but stay free. Say it again. Care deeply, but stay free. Because when you do, your relationships become healthier. Your mind becomes quieter. Your spirit becomes lighter. That's real confidence. That's real love. It's not cold, it's calm. It's not detached from feeling, it's detached from fear. You don't stop caring. You start caring better. You start caring smarter. You start caring without self-betrayal. That's the power of emotional detachment. That's how you love yourself more than anyone else. You've learned to love without losing. Now it's time to rise without permission.
Chapter 7. Build an inner world no one can invade. You need a place inside you that no one can touch, a world that no criticism, rejection, or chaos can reach. That's your inner fortress, and it's your responsibility to build it. You build it with your habits. You guard it with your solitude. You strengthen it with your peace. Because here's the truth. If your peace depends on your environment, you'll never be free. If your mood depends on other people, you'll never be stable. You must become your own sanctuary. No one enters your mind uninvited. Your peace is private property. That's the mantra. Repeat it. The world will always try to invade your peace. People will project their pain. Social media will amplify distraction. The news will feed your anxiety. But you have a choice. You can live reacting to the noise, or you can build an inner world that no noise can touch. That's the difference between surviving and mastering life. It's not about controlling the world. It's about controlling your world. That's the key. Your inner world starts with structure. What you do daily becomes your defense. Your rituals aren't just habits, they're armor. Morning reflection, physical training, journaling your thoughts, limiting noise. Each one is a brick in the fortress. Each one reinforces your mind. When you wake up and go straight to your phone, you're giving the world access before you've even centered yourself. You're saying, my mind is open, come in and control me. But when you begin your day in silence, when you move, breathe, think, you're saying, my peace comes first. The world waits until I'm ready. That's how strong people start their day, with boundaries. You control the input, you command the tone. Journaling is another powerful wall of defense. It's not just writing, it's reflection. It's how you process your thoughts before they control you. When you write your emotions, you disarm them. It's not about venting, it's about understanding. Because when you understand your thoughts, they lose their power. That's mental clarity. That's self-command. Try this. Every night, write 3 things: what drained you, what fueled you, and what you learned. That's how you study yourself. That's how you reinforce your inner foundation. Then there's training, physical discipline. It's not about vanity, it's about stability. Every workout is a form of inner architecture. Every rep builds confidence, structure, and control. You push your body so your mind learns endurance. You train discipline so chaos can't break you. Because when your body obeys your will, your mind follows. Training isn't about the gym. It's about proving to yourself that you can do hard things daily. And that proof becomes peace. Now let's talk about solitude, the core of your fortress. You cannot build inner strength if you fear being alone.
Solitude is where you learn yourself. It's where you recharge your mental energy. Most people avoid silence because it forces them to face their truth. They fill their days with noise to escape their thoughts. But silence is not the enemy. It's the workshop of peace. When you sit in solitude, you hear what you've been avoiding. You meet the parts of you that need healing. And once you face them, they stop controlling you. You stop needing constant company to feel complete. You stop chasing distractions to avoid discomfort. You become your own company, steady, calm, grounded. That's when your inner world becomes unshakable. But protecting your inner world also means cutting out what poisons it. You cannot build peace while entertaining chaos. You cannot build focus while scrolling endlessly. You cannot build self-worth while consuming comparison. Audit your inputs. Ask yourself, what enters my mind daily? Every video, every conversation, every piece of news, it all leaves a mark. If it drains you, remove it. If it feeds fear, block it. If it weakens focus, eliminate it. Because you can't control the world, but you can control your access points. That's how you maintain sovereignty over your peace. Let's talk about boundaries. Protecting your inner world means setting clear limits. It's saying no without guilt. It's stepping away without explanation. Boundaries are not walls, they're filters. They keep your energy sacred. They keep your mind clean. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. Not every situation deserves your attention. And not every invitation deserves your presence. You have a right to protect your peace like it's gold, because it is. You must train your mind to return to your fortress daily. No matter what happens externally, rejection, stress, chaos, you return to your center. That's your discipline. You sit still. You breathe. You repeat your affirmation. No one enters my mind uninvited. My peace is private property. Say it again. No one enters my mind uninvited. My peace is private property. That's not arrogance. That's ownership. It's you declaring authority over your own mental space. Because most people are mentally homeless. They live in everyone else's opinions. They let criticism invade. They let gossip distract. They let negativity decorate their mind. Not you. You're building walls of focus, discipline, and self-trust. You're creating a space inside yourself that no one can break into. Here's your daily practice to build that inner world. Step 1. Start each morning in silence. No phone, no noise. Just breathe, stretch, reflect. Command your day before the world commands you. Step 2. Journal daily. Don't just record events. Analyze your mind. Ask, what did I learn about myself today? Step 3. Move your body. Train discipline physically so it mirrors mentally. Strong body, strong boundaries. Step 4. Guard your inputs. Unfollow negativity. Limit chaos. Feed your peace. Step 5. Protect solitude. Spend time alone without guilt. That's not isolation, that's construction. Every repetition builds your fortress. Every quiet moment strengthens the foundation. You are the architect of your inner world. You are the protector of your peace. No one else will build it for you. No one else will guard it. Your rituals are your walls. Your reflection is your defense. Your discipline is your gatekeeper. No one enters your mind uninvited. Your peace is private property. When you live like that, the world loses power over you. Because you're no longer reactive, you're centered. You're no longer scattered, you're grounded.
You're no longer fragile, you're fortified. That's the essence of self-love. That's what it means to respect yourself at the highest level. You've built the foundation within. Now it's time to take that strength outward into action, purpose, and impact. You've mastered your inner world. Now let's talk about what happens when you start living from it.
Chapter 8. You teach people how to treat you. Every day, in every interaction, you're teaching people how to treat you. With your silence, with your reactions, with what you tolerate. You might not realize it, but every time you let disrespect slide, you're giving permission for it to continue. Every time you over-explain, you're telling them your boundaries are negotiable. Every time you chase someone who's inconsistent, you're saying, "My peace can wait." But here's the truth. Boundaries define your worth. If you tolerate disrespect, you teach others to ignore your value. If you respect yourself, you train others to do the same. That's the key. You don't need to shout your worth, you demonstrate it. You don't need to demand respect, you embody it. Think about it. You wouldn't let a stranger walk into your house uninvited and rearrange your furniture. So why let people rearrange your peace, your priorities, your purpose? Boundaries aren't barriers, they're protection. They don't push people away, they filter who gets to stay. My standards are my protection. My boundaries are my power. Say it again. My standards are my protection. My boundaries are my power. Let's talk about real-world practice, because this isn't just philosophy, it's strategy. When someone disrespects your time, you don't argue about it, you remove access. When someone plays games with your energy, you don't beg for clarity, you walk away early. When someone crosses your line once, you don't wait for the third time to finally mean it, you act immediately. That's how boundaries are built, through consistent action, not emotional reaction. You don't need to fight for respect, you enforce it by how you live. You don't need to beg for loyalty, you demand it by example. You don't need to explain your standards, you uphold them quietly. You have to teach people what's acceptable, not by talking about it, but by being unshakable about it. Here's the mistake most people make. They think boundaries push love away. They think saying no will make them lose people. But here's the truth. Boundaries don't scare away the right ones. They only remove the ones who are using you. The right people respect your boundaries. They see your self-respect and rise to meet it. The wrong people resent it because it stops their control. When you set a boundary and someone gets angry, you've just met the reason you needed one. Let that sink in. Because this isn't about controlling others, it's about controlling access to you. It's about protecting your time, your peace, and your emotional bandwidth. Your time is currency. Your energy is wealth. Your peace is priceless. You spend them wisely, or you waste them on people who drain instead of contribute. Start small. Say no when you mean no. Stop explaining your boundaries like they're up for debate. Silence is a sentence. Use it. You teach people with your reactions. When you overreact, they control you. When you stay composed, you control the situation. That's the difference between being reactive and being respected. Remember this. You're not cold for protecting your peace. You're not rude for valuing your energy. You're not selfish for prioritizing yourself. You're training the world how to treat you. Let's take a real example. Someone you care about keeps canceling plans last minute. The old you might have said, "It's fine," but every "it's fine" tells them your time doesn't matter. So this time you say, "No problem, but next time let's plan when you're sure." Simple, direct, no drama. You didn't argue, you didn't beg, you didn't punish, you just taught. You taught that your time is valuable. You taught that your peace is priority. You taught that respect is the minimum. That's leadership.
That's self-respect in action. Boundaries aren't about punishment, they're about pattern recognition. You're not trying to hurt people, you're trying to stop them from hurting you repeatedly. And once you enforce a boundary, you'll see who's really for you. People who love you will adjust. People who use you will resist. Let them. Your job isn't to convince others of your worth, it's to live like you know it. You don't need their approval, you need your alignment. Because when you start valuing yourself, something shifts. Your energy changes, your posture changes, your expectations change. And suddenly, people who once took advantage can't reach you anymore. That's growth. That's evolution. Every time you say no, you're saying yes to yourself. Every time you walk away from disrespect, you're walking toward peace. Every time you raise your standards, you raise your self-respect. You don't have to announce your boundaries. You just have to live them. You just have to embody them. You just have to repeat this truth until it becomes part of you. My standards are my protection. My boundaries are my power. Say it again. My standards are my protection. My boundaries are my power. Because here's what happens when you master this. You stop chasing people. You stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for being strong. You attract people who meet you where you are, not people who drain you to keep you small. You attract situations that reflect your worth, not ones that test it. You start commanding respect without demanding it. You start leading your life instead of being led by guilt. And that's the real transformation. You've learned to love yourself enough to protect yourself. You've learned that boundaries aren't walls, they're gates with your hand on the lock. You decide who enters, you decide who stays, you decide how you're treated. That's the foundation of self-love. That's the backbone of confidence. That's the discipline of respect. You've learned the truth. People don't determine your worth. You do. You train the world how to treat you by how you treat yourself. And once that clicks, you'll never go back. Because your peace is priceless. Your energy is sacred. And your standards, they are your protection. Your boundaries are your power. Now that you've learned how to protect your worth, it's time to build your legacy. Let's move to Chapter 9, the discipline of consistency.
Chapter 9. Confidence comes from proof, not talk. Everyone wants confidence, but few want to earn it. They speak it, they post it, they affirm it. But confidence doesn't come from talking about it. It comes from proving it. You can say, "I'm confident" all day long, but if your actions don't match, your mind knows you're lying. That's why so many people feel fake, because they're trying to convince themselves instead of building themselves. Confidence doesn't live in your mouth, it lives in your habits. It lives in the proof you give yourself daily. Stop affirming what you haven't earned. Start proving it. That's the key. Let's be clear. You don't talk yourself into confidence. You train yourself into confidence. You earn it through discipline, through showing up, through stacking real evidence of who you are. Confidence is not self-talk, it's self-trust. And self-trust only grows when your words and actions finally match. Every time you say you'll do something and actually do it, your brain learns one thing: I can count on myself. That's how real confidence is built. Quietly, repetitively, consistently. You don't need to feel motivated, you need to follow through. You don't need to post progress, you need to make progress. Confidence is the residue of consistent effort. Think about the strongest people you know. They don't need to announce their confidence, it's visible in how they carry themselves, in how they move, in how they show up every day. They've built evidence,
evidence of effort, evidence of persistence, evidence of execution. That's why they don't need to talk, because proof speaks louder. You don't earn confidence from compliments. You earn it from repetition. From those mornings when you don't want to get up, but you do. From the days when you feel small, but you still show up. From the moments when no one's watching, but you do it anyway. That's the foundation. That's the work. That's what creates unshakable belief. Let's make this practical. Every day you have opportunities to build or break your self-trust. When you hit the gym even when it's raining, you build it. When you choose discipline over distraction, you build it. When you finish what you start, you build it. But when you say you'll start Monday and skip again, you weaken it. When you promise yourself change but keep repeating excuses, you erode it. When you talk big but act small, you lose the trust that forms confidence. Your brain keeps score. Every missed promise adds doubt. Every completed promise adds strength. That's the game, and most people lose it quietly day after day. You have to decide. Do you want to feel good now, or do you want to feel powerful later? Do you want to sound confident, or do you want to be confident? Because only one of those is earned. Confidence grows like muscle, from resistance. You can't fake the reps. You can't shortcut the grind. Every time you choose discomfort over comfort, your inner strength expands. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, your self-image elevates. Every time you choose consistency over convenience, your confidence multiplies. It's not about feeling ready, it's about proving ready. You don't build belief by waiting, you build it by doing. Say it with me. Earn it quietly, prove it daily, speak through action. That's your mantra. That's your standard. That's how you become someone others respect, because you respect your own word first. Let's talk about daily wins. They're small, but they're powerful. Waking up on time, finishing your workout, keeping your word to yourself, completing that task you wanted to delay. Each one is a brick. Each one builds internal evidence that says, I can trust me. And that's what most people lack. Not confidence, but evidence. You can't fake evidence. You can't affirm your way around it. You have to earn it. That's why real confidence doesn't crumble under pressure, because it's built on proof, not on public approval. You've lived it. You've done the work. You've earned the right to stand tall. When you have evidence, you don't need to shout. When you have evidence, you don't need validation. When you have evidence, you just know. Let's look deeper. Talk is cheap because it costs you nothing. Discipline costs you time, energy, and effort, but it gives you identity. When you pay that price daily, confidence becomes who you are, not what you pretend. That's why the quiet ones often carry the most certainty. They're too busy proving to talk. Confidence is built, not broadcasted. And you build it by stacking proof until there's no room left for doubt. You'll feel it when it clicks, when your behavior finally matches your goals, when your discipline outweighs your excuses, when you no longer need to convince anyone. You'll move differently. You'll speak less. You'll carry calm instead of chaos. That's confidence. Earned, not spoken. So here's what I want you to do. Pick one thing, one daily discipline, and master it. Maybe it's waking up early. Maybe it's working out. Maybe it's meditating. Maybe it's reading instead of scrolling. Whatever it is, own it. Make it your evidence. Make it your foundation. Then stack another, then another, until the person you become has no need for empty words, because the proof is everywhere. Remember, the more proof you build, the quieter your mind becomes. The more consistent you become, the stronger your confidence grows. The more you do, the less you have to say. Confidence isn't a speech, it's a scoreboard. It's built through repetition. It's earned through doing what you said you'd do. Say it again. Earn it quietly, prove it daily, speak through action. You don't need to announce your greatness. You need to embody it. You don't need to talk about confidence. You need to create it. And every day you live that truth, you move from pretending to being. That's the transformation. That's the moment you stop seeking confidence and start living it. Because confidence isn't the outcome, it's the side effect of consistent proof. You've built your boundaries, you've built your inner world. Now you're building belief from the ground up. And once you've built proof, no one can take it. Next, we'll go even deeper into the one thing that keeps it all alive. Welcome to Chapter 10. Discipline is self-love in motion.
Chapter 10. Love yourself like it's a skill. Love yourself, not as a slogan, but as a skill. Not as a feeling, but as a discipline. Because feelings fade, discipline doesn't. Most people treat self-love like an emotion, something that appears when life feels good, when people approve, when the mirror reflects what they want to see. But that's not love, that's convenience. Real self-love is forged in the days when you don't like yourself and still choose to show up for yourself anyway. You have to train it, you have to build it, you have to practice it. That's the key. Self-love is a skill, and like every skill, it starts clumsy and uncomfortable. At first it feels fake, it feels forced, it feels unnatural. But so did every new habit that eventually changed your life. You don't learn to love yourself by waiting for confidence to arrive. You learn by taking care of yourself when you least feel worthy of care. You learn by forgiving yourself when your instinct is to punish. You learn by standing back up when your mind tells you to stay down. That's how you train it. That's how you earn it. Self-love isn't soft. It's structure. It's boundaries. It's discipline dressed as compassion. It's doing what's right for your growth, not what feels good in the moment. You have a choice to either talk about loving yourself or to build the version of you who deserves that love. Here's the truth. You can't claim to love yourself and still constantly abandon yourself. You can't claim to love yourself and still let others decide your worth. You can't claim to love yourself and keep betraying your own standards. You say you love yourself? Then keep your word. Then protect your peace. Then stop apologizing for existing. Self-love is not indulgence, it's integrity. You build it by becoming loyal to your own well-being, by keeping your promises, by standing firm in your values, by respecting your time and your boundaries as sacred. That's how you build proof. That's how you make love a discipline. You will train it like a muscle, through solitude, through reflection, through forgiveness, through daily self-loyalty. You won't get stronger by avoiding discomfort. You'll get stronger by facing it with compassion. You won't grow by running to distractions. You'll grow by sitting in silence until you understand yourself again. Solitude is your training ground. Reflection is your teacher. Forgiveness is your healing. And loyalty, daily, quiet, unshakable loyalty to yourself is your power. You have to build a relationship with yourself the same way you build any meaningful connection. Time, consistency, attention. You listen, you learn, you forgive, you grow. Because when you finally treat yourself like someone you're responsible for protecting, everything changes. Self-love isn't looking in the mirror and saying, "I'm perfect." It's looking in the mirror and saying, "I'm worth improving." It's knowing your flaws, but refusing to let them define you. It's catching your negative thoughts and responding, "No, that's not who I am anymore." It's choosing growth over guilt. It's choosing responsibility over resentment. It's choosing patience over punishment. That's the discipline. That's the training. That's how self-love becomes strength instead of sentiment. You will have days where you fail, days where you fall short, days where you forget your worth. That's okay, as long as you return to yourself. Say it to yourself, "I come home to me," no matter what, no matter who leaves, no matter what breaks. Real self-love doesn't shout, it doesn't beg, it doesn't seek validation. It's quiet, it's grounded, it's calm. It's the way you breathe through chaos and still know you'll be okay. It's the way you stop over-explaining and start understanding. It's the way you stop waiting for others to see you because you see you. You have to be your own home, because homes built in other people always fall apart. When you are your own peace, no one can take it. When you are your own validation, no one's approval controls you. When you are your own home, no loss can leave you homeless. That's mastery. That's the skill. Say it with me. I am my own peace. I am my own validation. I am my own home. Repeat it until it's real, because repetition rewires the mind. Because practice builds proof. Because proof builds peace. Let's get practical. How do you train self-love like a skill? Start small. 5 minutes of silence in the morning. Write down one thing you're proud of. Forgive one mistake without turning it into your identity. End one unhealthy habit that drains your energy. Every small act adds up. Every small act says, "I matter." Every small act rebuilds your self-trust. And that's what self-love truly is. Trust. The trust that you'll show up for yourself no matter what. You don't wait for permission to rest, you give it. You don't wait for validation to act, you move anyway. You don't wait for peace, you create it. You don't need anyone to teach you how to love you, you just need to practice being loyal to you. That's the skill. That's the power. Understand this. Loving yourself doesn't mean you'll never feel pain. It means you'll never abandon yourself in it. It means you'll face it with patience, process it with maturity, and heal through it with grace. When you love yourself like a skill, you stop chasing emotional highs and start creating emotional stability. You stop seeking love that costs your peace and start choosing love that protects it. You stop begging for attention and start commanding respect. That's what this entire journey has been about. Not vanity, not ego, not isolation, but peace, power, clarity. The ability to stand alone, strong, grounded, and whole. Say it one more time. I am my own peace. I am my own validation. I am my own home. Because when you love yourself like it's a skill, no storm can move you. No rejection can break you. No silence can scare you. You have everything you need within you. And the more you practice, the stronger you become.
You've learned to stop chasing and start choosing. You've learned to stay silent, stay disciplined, and stay free. You've learned to love yourself not as an idea, but as a lifestyle. This is the final lesson. This is the transformation. Because when you master the skill of self-love, you stop surviving life and you start leading it. End book. Every day, the world will test your self-love. People will ignore you, doubt you, try to make you question yourself. That's the test. But the new you doesn't need to be seen. The new you doesn't beg for attention. The new you moves in silence and stays loyal to your own standard. You now understand. Love is not something you wait for. It's something you build from within. Stop performing for attention. Stop needing permission. Stop breaking your own heart for the comfort of others. Love yourself more than anyone else, not with ego, but with discipline. Because when you master that, no one can control you, no one can break you, and no one can make you forget who you are. Your life changes when you finally say, I am enough. And I always was. Now go prove it, quietly, relentlessly, and completely.